Hi there and welcome back. My name is Lisa from Critters'n Ink Designs in Brighton, Ontario. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Ontario, and I'm happy to have you join me today. So today I'm going to show you what I did for my January swaps. I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball. They did finally get out last week. So this is the card that we're going to be making, and then I also just made a variation of it with the Happy and Heartfelt stamps. So it's kind of cute. And then on the inside we have like a fun fold little window, 3D little window that we're going to do. So to get started, you're going to need, let me just grab my supplies here. We're going to need a card base, and I'm using Old Olive. I always want to say olive oil. We're going to use Old Olive. It's 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it across at 4 1/4. And then you need a piece of basic white that is 8 1/4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to go ahead and score this, and I'll give you the measurements when we score it. And then another piece of basic white that is 4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to run that through the hybrid embossing folder. I'm not sure if you can see. There's terrible glare in here, and I do apologize. So we're going to run it through this hybrid embossing folder, and what that means is that it works together with a die. So I'm going to lay this die in the heart here. Oh no, that's backwards. I'm going to lay it over here. And it just nestles right in there, like you know that's where it belongs, because that's where I'm nestling it to. And I'm going to take my basic white that is typical card front size, which is 5 1/4 by 4 by 5 1/4. And I've put a piece of tape here so that I kind of know where I need to put this. So I'm just going to lay this here. And how I figured that out was just playing around with it to make sure that my heart was centered into the embossing machine. And I want this a little bit towards the top, not overly, but somewhat towards the top. And that's looking pretty good. So I've got the paper on this side, and I have the die on this side. And so I'm going to run it through my machine, always with the seam side as you're feeding it into the machine, because physics will tell you that if you put it in the wrong way, the machine is going to push probably the top layer away from the back layer, and then you're going to end up with a broken embossing folder. So when you're using an embossing folder, make sure that you're always pushing it in this way, okay? So let me go do that. I'll be right back. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to just pop it out of my embossing folder. There's my die, and you can see it's cut out the heart and embossed all in one step. Isn't that awesome? So if you haven't already purchased this, you might want to. I mean, you can use this for all kinds of things, weddings. Actually, my friend's daughter is getting married, and she said, oh my God, that would make an amazing wedding invitation if you did it, you know, in whatever your bride's colors are going to be, or even tone on tone white, or very vanilla would be awesome too. All right, so this part is done. We can put this aside for just a few minutes. We'll color it in a minute. So now we're going to make the mechanism, the little 3D window on the inside. And it's way simpler than it looks. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of paper. It's, what did I say? It is 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. So now we're going to score it. Our first score is at 1 5/8. The original one that I saw was made by a woman in Germany. She's a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Germany. So I had to fiddle around with the numbers to get it to work. Her card was a lot bigger than mine. Hers was 5 by 7, I believe. So the numbers were way off, but we figured it out. And I wish I could remember her name, and I can't even to go and look for it. I can't remember what her name was. Anyway, so this is at 1 5/8. The next one is at 2 7/8. You can hear Georgie in the background giving her 2 cents worth. 2 7/8. No, Georgie. No, 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 no. 2 7/8. And the third one is at 5 3/8. And I'm just going to pop up here. 5 3/8. Okay. So now we're just going to do some pencil marking. So we need to be 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to eyeball it 3/4 of an inch from the top and 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. So I'm just going to eyeball it. And I need to make 2 lines on the second score line. So our first one is 1 5/8, and our second one is 2 7/8. So I'm going to make a little tick mark at 3/4 of an inch on either side of that score line. I'm going to go down here and do the same thing. So, sorry, not 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch. I want it to be 3/4 of an inch from the top. So let me redo that. So 1/2 an inch. Good thing I caught that. If I had cut that afterwards, I would have been really annoyed. All right, so 1/2 an inch from each side of that score line. Half an inch. And I want this to be 3/4 of an inch from the top and 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. So my 3/4 inch mark is there. And there. This one was almost right on, so that's pretty good. And there goes a cat. Okay, Georgie, where you go? Go visit. She wasn't too impressed with that. Is she back?
Just under this.
Oh, Georgie, go see Dad. And then I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch down at the mark and 3/4 of an inch up. And that one was okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase these 2 top ones so I don't get confused. And I'm going to draw a line. Let me just show you on my paper here. Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you like. So what I'm going to do is I'm creating 2 little windows, and we're going to cut this little skinny window out and then this one out here as well. So go ahead and take a screenshot if you like. So I'm going to draw lines from my mark left to the first score line and then right to the third score line. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And I'm using a T ruler so that I know that I'm straight. So left to the first score line and then right to the third score line. Okay, and I'll just connect these so that I can see what I'm doing when I have it in the in the trimmer. Oh, you should smell it in here. My husband is making donuts in the Instant Pot fryer, air fryer. Smells heavenly, just amazing. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in just a smidgen so you can see what I'm doing. So if you look on the blade of your trimmer, you have 2 blades. You have a light colored blade, which is your scoring tool, and it's like a ball bearing or something on the bottom. So it doesn't cut, it just bends your paper. And then you have your blade, which has a little knife, and it's very sharp. I've cut myself a couple times not being careful, so be careful and keep it, oops, keep it out of reach of little people because they can really get hurt with that thing. So I'm going to line up. Now I'm using, you can use top or bottom, it doesn't matter. I'm using the bottom one simply because I'm sitting down. Often when I'm creating, I'm in my other room and I'm standing. But right now I'm just sitting at this table and I'm going to just do it this way from the bottom. Now one thing I forgot to show you is on your blade, where's the camera? On your blade, you can see there's a groove at each side and one on each side of the slot where it slides. And this is to help you line up what you're doing. And you'll also see this one has a little triangle. Sorry, the glare in here is brutal. A little triangle. And the other one has a little circle. And the circle one is obviously the scoring tool, and this one is the cutting tool. So let me pop that back in. And I'm going to line this up. I'm going to line up my score line with the track where we made the score line. And I'm going to line up the little line on the cutting tool with my the line that I drew. And I'm just going to give that a cut. I'm going to shift it over and do the same thing. And I can see my pencil mark is in the middle of my track here. And I can line up this little groove with my pencil mark and this little groove with my horizontal pencil line so that I know where I'm cutting to and from. So I'm going to stop here. I went a little bit long on that. It's not life or death. So I'm going to line this one up. Cut from line to line. And the same on this final score mark. I'll line up my score line with the track in the trimmer. Line up my blade. Give that a cut. Beautiful. So there are our vertical cuts. Now I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to set the edge of my card. If you remember, these lines were 3/4 of an inch from the bottom, right? So I'm going to line my card up at 3/4. And I'm going to line up my little grooves on my pencil line and just cut to the other score line. And same thing, I'm going to start at this cut line and go to the score. And flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. So I'm lining up at 3/4. And there we have our little windows, and they should just pop right out. Which of course this one didn't. So let me just get that a little snip right in the corner there. What snips are for? That's what snips are for. There, beautiful. So that's done. And just grab my eraser. Now one thing to keep in mind, and I've kind of learned this the hard way, is I only use a white eraser now. I used a pencil one time that had a red eraser on it, and it left red on my cardstock, and that really ticked me off. So use the white craft or the white drafting eraser. There, I've got all my pencil marks off. And now I can reinforce my score lines. So how do I want this to go? I want it to go this way. So I want my little corner to come forward. And we're just doing like a Z fold, as they say in the States. Accordion fold, I guess, is what it is. Okay, I'm just going to grab my bone folder and just reinforce my folds here a little bit. So there you have, that's it. That's how easy this is. Super, super simple. The next thing we're going to do is I've already gone ahead and done it, but you're going to need a scrap of the Old Olive, and this one measures just over 4 inches by 2, maybe 2 1/4. And the dies that I used to create this are from the Eden's Garden bundle. This is a great bundle. Oh my gosh, I'm going to zoom back out here a little bit. The dies in this bundle are fabulous. So for this, I used the border die. And I just laid it across my cardstock on either side and ran it through. You do one side at a time, obviously. And I just ran it through my cut and emboss machine. And now I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim it. There's like an indented line. And I'm just going to trim it on that indented line. So I'll have to show you at the end. Doreen made the cutest Valentine cards for her grandchildren. They're just adorable. And then I also went ahead and cut out some of these little leafy little elements here. And I did them in So Saffron and Old Olive. And also did some of the flowers. This die set also comes with 4 little flowers, so I did those as well. And you can put as many as you like, or as little as you like. Or you can do something entirely different for that matter. It's totally up to you. But this Eden's Garden is just an amazing bundle. And you can find that in the January to June, I think. Grab my catalog. I think it's in the January to June mini. Eden's Garden, yeah, it's in the January to June. It's this catalog. And if you don't have one and you live in Canada, I'm more than happy to send you one. So it's the Eden's Garden on page 41. And as I say, it's an absolutely beautiful collection. Just stunning. So the catalog, you know, people say, oh, I never know what to make with you know, a particular die set. But if you look at the samples, there's so many samples just in the catalog. And then if you go to the back where they have the bundles set up, Eden's Garden, here's another sample. Like, isn't that pretty? This one. Okay, I'm gonna pop this back in here. And this I'm going to glue. So I'm just going to glue these pieces behind this window so that they're popping out like this. Okay, so I'm going to grab my silicone mat. And the silicone mat is great because whenever you're doing any kind of gluing, glue doesn't stick to the silicone mat. Okay, so now I'm just going to place some adhesive on the front part of this. And I'm kind of staying away from anywhere that isn't near the, or anywhere that is near the stitch line. It's a great thing about it, silicone mats is that the glue just peels off. Okay, so I'm going to go behind here and just line up the stitch line with the edge of my little window there. There's one. There's two. Just bring that down a little bit. And there we go. So there's our little windows are done. Just going to peel this off of my silicone mat. Clean as a whistle. So my card base is here. I'm going to go ahead and just fold this. And we can place, oh, you know what I forgot? Our liner. So we have a liner for the inside because we want this to show through here. So this liner is our 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. So this paper is directional, so you want to make sure you have it facing the right way, and we're going to score it at 3 3/4. Let me just grab my scoring, my trimmer. What did I say? 3 3/4. So I'm going to line this up at 3 3/4. And I'm just going to lightly score it. Now when you're scoring designer series paper, I'm hardly pressing at all because you can easily go right through this. It's not very thick. It's not like cardstock. So keep that in mind. I think when we're all new with the trimmer and we're new crafters, it's really simple, really easy to go right through the cardstock on it, or the designer series paper. I know I did. When I put this in here, I'm going to center it, and I'm only going to put glue on the left side. I'm not going to put glue on the right side. I found, and you know, maybe it's just me, but I found when I had glue on the right side, this little piece, and then I went to fold it and I had the window on it, I wasn't getting a good result. So I'm only going to put glue on the larger size. And you don't need a lot. So I'm going to line up my two score lines. So this score line and this score line. I'm going to line those up. And I'm going to center this from top to bottom to make sure that it's pretty centered there. There. Perfect. And now I can put my little window. Oh, no, I can't. What I have to do first, I'm telling you, I'm totally losing my marbles today. So I need to stamp my little florals down the side. I can't believe how forgetful I am today. I'm just like totally out with the pixies. I have no clue what I'm doing. Grab a couple of blocks here. And my ink. And I'm using Old Olive ink. And I'm going to use this little fella right here. This one with the little dots. I just think that's so cute. Okay. When you're using stamps, it's prudent to use a block that's pretty close to the size of your stamp. It seems to give you less chance of rocking, if you know what I mean. Like if you rock it, let me just do it. You see how I have ink all around my stamp, and when you stamp that, this is what you get. Zoom. Oh, that's good. So you see that little halo? That's what you don't want. Okay. So can I borrow your chamois? Thanks. Thank you. So I'm going to gently tap and not rock. I don't want ink around my stamp. I just want ink on my stamp. So I'm just going to work my way up the side panel here. It's funny, earlier when I was making one, see, did it. It's really easy to leave a little halo there, so try not to rock your card, not your card, your block. And then on this side, I'm going to put just a couple in the top corner. Not done yet. Thank you, though. And one in the bottom. And I did it again. Oh, thank you.
I saw the halo, so
I know. Oh, well. I will cover that up. Now, I do have an ink eraser, one of those stone erasers, and that may take it out, but I'm going to let it dry first so I don't smush it all over the place. So now I can put this onto here. So what I'm going to do is just put glue. I'm going to put adhesive just in this panel first. I'm just going to line it up. There we are. So now I'm going to fold the panel right over, and I'm going to put glue on this side. And then I'm not going to bring it over this way. I'm actually going to just bring the back over and adhere it that way. And there we are. You know what I forgot to do? Is the sentiment. I tell you, I'm losing my marbles. So I'm going to grab my Old Olive again. And from the Happy and Heartfelt, let me zoom back out here. From the Happy and Heartfelt, I'm going to do Being Awesome is Just Your Thing. Because I wanted to make this into a thank you card. And so, is that going to fit on there? Grab the next biggest size. Thank you, ma'am. Make sure I don't get ink on my card because I'm notorious. So I always put my blocks on an angle so that I gotta be careful. So that I can concentrate on lining up the lettering as opposed to the block, because that seems to throw me off. So I'm going to ink it up, stamp it, and I'm careful not to rock it. And there we go, perfect. Okay. Let that dry for half a sec. So now we can decorate the inside of our card. So I've gone ahead and I've cut some of these little details that I showed you earlier. I did some green ones and some So Saffron. So I have Old Olive, So Saffron. Let's just see what else I have there. So I'm going to grab, I'm just going to borrow your glue. Is that okay? No. No? Too bad. So I'm going to take some of the leaves and I'm putting just a drop on the front, like the right side, and I'm going to stick that under here. Just hold it for a second. It's sticking to me. My hands are sticky. And I'm going to do one of the So Saffron as well. Put that more sideways like that. And you know, you can decorate this any way you like. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. I'm going to pop a flower on there. So I just have glue on half of it. I'm going to kind of stick it up. This isn't laying right. Let's see. Cross your fingers. I'm just going to flatten this because I didn't like the way it was sitting. That's better. Cross your fingers. Perfect. Whew. There. That's better. This wasn't sitting flat. I wasn't all the way over. So I was kind of like, oh no. That is good. I have a little mark from my pencil there that I couldn't get off, so I'm going to cover that baby up. Now, you don't want to be over generous with your glue, because if it seeps from the back and you have your card like this, it's going to leave glue residue, so that when you have it glued, which I was over exuberant with my glue there, I have glue, it's going to stick. So I just want to get that out of there so that I don't have an issue later when I'm trying to open my card. Beautiful. Love it, love it. Okay, so now we're going to do the front. So we have our embossed piece here, and I'm going to go ahead and color my flowers. And I'm using, what am I using? So Saffron and Old Olive. So I'm really only going to use the So Saffron Dark and the Old Olive Light, and I'm only going to do the heart. And this is not museum grade art here. I'm just quickly, when I was doing my my swap for January, I had to do a whole pile of these, and let me tell you, I whipped through them pretty darn fast. And it's like watercolor, like you don't have to be precise. This isn't like a little critter that you want to get detail or anything. It's just a few leaves and some flowers. Easy peasy. You can see my tip is getting a little myrtleized here. So I'm going to order a new one, but in the meantime, just so that I can get a little bit more life out of it, I'm just going to trim off the fuzzies. Let's see how that works. Beauty. Okay. So now I'm just going to, because there's still a lot of ink in there, but the tip was kind of wild. Looked like a bad haircut. So I thought I'm just going to fix that. I need to do that with my Old Olive Dark too. It's looking pretty ratty. I've already ordered a new one. But you hate to not use them because there's still tons of ink in there, right? So you can modify it just a little bit. Get all that ink out of there. There. So now I need a piece of ribbon, and I'm going to use some Old Olive ribbon, and I need about maybe 6 inches. That should be enough, right? Oh my gosh, yeah. 5.5 would do it. So I'm just going to cut 5.5 inches of ribbon. Notice I really didn't measure that. That's okay. And thank you. So Doreen actually, let me show them. Doreen actually got me some of these little clips. They're just little
Acco clips.
What are they?
Acco clips.
Acco
clips.
Acco clips from Stationery Supply. And she started doing this with her ribbon, and I've been using pins, but as she mentioned, and it's true, we're both sewers, so you know, no lack of pins here. But the pins do leave holes, and if it's a delicate ribbon, it can run it if it's like a satin ribbon, so you don't want that. Anyway, this keeps them nice and tidy, and I've got like an actual ribbon holder that I purchased from my quilt store.
Or if you don't have a ribbon holder, you can have a pegboard.
Oh yeah, yeah. As Doreen said, if you didn't have an actual ribbon holder, like mine has a dowel that goes through like this. Thank you. But you could also just, if you had a pegboard, you could also just do that. Although that would be pretty. You'd need those, actually those long ones that you can get at the hardware store that go onto pegboards. Is that what you call that? Pegboard? Pegboard wall. And just slide them through, and you can have them all
Green and yellow
too. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to just put some Stampin' Seal across here. And I'm going to line up my ribbon about 1 inch from the bottom. Again, you know, there's no set rule or whatever. I'm sticking to myself. Okay. Now I'm going to glue this to the front of my card. This stuff sticks really well. Oh, gee. Okay, so I'm going to center this on the front of my card. And I'm going to raise my heart on some Stampin' Dimensionals. I'll probably use 4, I think. Okay. Georgie's back in her box. I have a Stampin' Up box just on the couch beside me here, and Georgie's been sleeping in it all afternoon. Gwen must have fed her because she's quiet now. There, that is so pretty. So the next thing I did was I actually used the Amazing Silhouettes bundle, which is on page 40. And this is the Amazing Silhouette dies. And then the Amazing Thanks dies. Have the shadow and then the actual words. So you have "You are amazing" and "Thank you." So it's got thanks or thank you. Okay. So I'm just using the thanks part of it. So I've cut out the larger. This is what the dies look like. So I cut the Old Olive. I almost said olive oil. The Old Olive from the shadow one. And then I cut 2 layers of the thanks from the actual word dies. And I did that because sometimes you have, I just find that I like the layered. If you've seen some of my other cards, I often will layer 2 or 3 layers of the same word just to get some depth. Okay, so I'm going to do that. These magnets are just from the Dollar Tree. Stick them in there. And then you can see I've already cut out the amazing and you are. So you can do that, or you can go cut the S off and just do thank you. So lots of options here. Or amazing you, whatever. I could put that on there. No. I'm going to stick with thanks on this one. So I'm going to put my two thanks together. And I'm just going to use little dots of glue. You don't need to go crazy with the glue on this. There's another way you can do it too. If you have those sponges, just put some glue on your silicone mat and use the sponges to sponge over the whole thing. I actually don't think that's necessary on this because it's not that detailed. If you were doing something that was really detailed, I'd probably go ahead and do that. But so now I'm just going to lay this right on top. There. There we go. Easy schmeezy. Oh, and now I'm just going to flip this over and put glue on the back, and then I'm just going to plop it right on there. Same thing, just glue anything that you think is going to stick up. All right. Beautiful. Love it. Love it. So now I'm just going to glue that right onto there. So I'm just going to put glue right across the middle, just little dots right across the middle. Just hold that there for a sec. Stay, stay, baby. And we need some blingy bling bling. So, oh, I threw them over on the pool table, which is right beside me here. And I'm just going to use some of the iridescent rhinestones that are new in the catalog this month. They're beautiful. So using my Take a Pick tool, I'm just going to use some of the smaller ones. Put one there. And there you have it. Isn't that adorable? So adorable. So that's our little thank you card with the 3D window. I hope you enjoyed this. So now I'm just going to show you a couple of the cards that Doreen was working on today. So she came up with this as a Valentine card for her two older granddaughters. And what we used here was some little heart, epoxy hearts that were part of the Pampered Pets. And she used the white ones and took the Old Olive blend, which is an alcohol marker. And you can do this with any of the light colored adornments. If you use the blends, the alcohol ink will actually dye the little embellishment. So this is the one that she made for her granddaughters. Isn't that sweet? So how old are the girls now? 10 and or 11?
15.
15 and Sophia's what, 11?
Will be 10.
Oh, 10. Yeah. Yeah. So she made that one. And then for the two younger girls, she made this one using the, it's not the stamp set, I can't remember what this is called.
Put it away.
The, look it up. The Sweet Conversations, which is on page 10 in the new catalog. But isn't that the sweetest? And then the other one is your one for your husband. This is the one that she made for her husband using the same Sweet Conversations. So cute. And then this, I'll be doing, if you check on my blog, I actually did a tutorial for this card. This was my February swap. I used a different stamp, but the idea is the same. So you have your triple layers and then you just mat them. So yeah, if you head over to critters'nink.com on my blog, you'll see the actual directions on how to do this. So I hope you've enjoyed spending your time with us this afternoon. I really enjoyed sharing this with you. If you have any questions ever, you know that you can contact me at critters'nink@gmail.com. Or if there's something in here, any of the products that we use today, they can be found on my 24/7 shop, critters'nink.com or critters'nink.stampinup.net. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you soon.